Before 1992, local governance in rural India was highly volatile. State capitals could dissolve village councils at will, leaving local seats vacant for years. That institutional fragility led to the 73rd Amendment Act of 1992, which inserted Part 9 directly into the Constitution of India. This addition standardized rural administration by imposing a specific set of requirements that every state legislature is now obligated to follow. Managing a unified democratic system for 1.4 billion people requires a structure that accounts for the smallest village and the largest district simultaneously. The structure begins with Article 243, which defines the foundational vocabulary. At the base of this system is the Gram Sabha. The Gram Sabha consists of the individuals registered on the formal electoral rolls for a village area. Under Article 243A, this body exercises powers and performs functions at the village level as provided by the laws of the state legislature. Article 243B mandates a three-tier framework. Panchayats must be constituted at the village, intermediate, and district levels. There is one exception. States with a population under 20 lakhs may choose to skip the intermediate level to avoid unnecessary administrative layers. Article 243C governs the composition of these bodies. All seats must be filled by direct election, and the ratio between the population and the number of seats must remain consistent throughout the state. This phase of the blueprint reveals a specific division. The Union Constitution dictates the physical architecture, while the operational power within those tiers is left to individual states. Article 243D enforces proportional representation. Seats for scheduled castes and tribes are reserved in exact proportion to their population in that area. It also sets an absolute minimum floor for gender representation. 1/3 of total seats must be reserved for women. To prevent perpetual incumbency, Article 243E limits a panchayat to a 5-year term, calculated from the date of its first meeting. If a panchayat is dissolved early, an election to reconstitute it must be completed within 6 months. The newly elected body only serves for the remainder of the original 5-year period, rather than starting a fresh term. By linking these demographic requirements with synchronized electoral clocks, Part 9 restricts the ability of state governments to manipulate local representation. Article 243F establishes disqualification rules. Notably, it lowers the minimum age for members to 21, creating a legal entry point for younger representatives. Once a panchayat is seated, Article 243G authorizes the state legislature to devolve the powers necessary for them to function as institutions of self-government. This includes the implementation of schemes related to the 29 subjects listed in the 11th schedule, such as agriculture, land improvement, and small-scale industries. To fund these activities, Article 243H allows the state legislature to authorize panchayats to levy and collect taxes, duties, and tolls. These financial powers are not inherent. They are granted through state-level legislation, making the panchayat's budget dependent on state-level policy. This reveals the core paradox. The structural existence of the panchayat is protected by the Constitution, but its executive power relies on the political will of the state capital. Article 243I addresses this dependency by mandating a state finance commission every 5 years. This commission reviews the financial position of the panchayats and recommends how tax proceeds should be distributed between the state and local bodies. Article 243J further empowers the state to make provisions for the maintenance and auditing of panchayat accounts. To manage the logistics of local voting, Article 243K creates an independent state election commission. To ensure independence, the state election commissioner can only be removed from office in the exact same manner as a high court judge. These two mechanisms, independent financial review and protected election oversight, function as the constitutional safeguards for local democracy. Article 243L applies these provisions to union territories, substituting references to the governor with the administrator of the territory. However, Article 243M establishes clear boundaries. It exempts specific tribal areas and states, including Nagaland, Meghalaya, and Mizoram, from these standard panchayat laws. Similar exemptions protect the Darjeeling Gorkha Hill Council, while the 83rd Amendment removed the requirement for scheduled caste reservations in Arunachal Pradesh. Article 243N gave states a one-year window to bring their existing local laws into compliance with this new constitutional framework. Finally, Article 243O bars courts from interfering in matters of constituency delimitation or the allotment of seats. Part 9 creates a protected legal space, respecting tribal autonomy on one side, while preventing judicial delays from stalling local elections on the other. This completed architecture spans from the localized bedrock of the Gram Sabha to the high-level protections of the State Election Commission. The central tension remains. The Constitution mandates the skeleton of democracy, but the fiscal muscle remains at the discretion of the state governments. The 73rd Amendment integrated local governance into the national framework, establishing a recurring democratic cycle in over 500,000 villages. By anchoring the mechanisms of power at the village level, Part 9 made the arbitrary dissolution of local councils by state capitals legally impossible.